Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to talk about depositions. Let's talk about what a deposition is. A deposition is where one party takes the deposition of another party. They show up usually in one of the lawyer's conference rooms. Sometimes they do it at the courthouse, depending on the facts and circumstances. But anyway, the point of the showing up to wherever the location is to give your testimony. If you've been asked to give a deposition, then you're participating in the action either as a party or as a witness. You're given testimony, and that testimony is given as though you are sitting in a courtroom. The judge is there watching you, and it is expected that you're going to tell the truth. So, again, the facts are the facts. You can't change those facts. You want to be truthful. You want to be credible. You want to establish your credibility going into that. You want everybody to know, sitting at that table, look, I'm telling the truth. And that's what's going to change the truth. You can ask me the question 19 different ways, but it's not going to change the truth. So in Tennessee, which is where I practice, we can ask almost anything at a discovery deposition. I can ask you if the sky is purple, and you have to answer it. I can ask you if the room that we're sitting in is blue. As you can see, my walls are beige. I can ask the question. You have to answer it. So we have those kind of rules that apply to our depositions. It's a tough way to do depositions because a lot of times there's a lot of information that comes out in depositions that we don't want to come in. But here we are, and my clients open their mouths and they've said what they've said, and then we have to deal with it. So here's a few pointers. Answer the question. Keep it simple. Don't go outside the bounds of the question. If they ask you if the road was straight when you had your accident, was it? If it was, say yes and stop talking. If they ask you, was the road curvy, and it was, say yes. Don't tell them how curvy. Don't tell them that you were doing 90 when you went around the curvy road. I'm being facetious, but you get the point. The thing is if they ask a question, you want to answer it and stop talking. If they need more information, they're going to ask for more information. You don't volunteer that information. That's how people get in trouble when they're doing depositions. It's how people get in trouble when they're in court too. But for you just keep in mind, I'm going to answer the question and I'm going to stop talking. The other thing that you have to be really on top of when you're in a deposition, you have to let the person asking the questions finish asking their questions. Once they're done asking the questions, then it's fair game. You answer however you answer. But don't talk over the person asking. And make sure that you fully understand. If you don't understand the question, it's okay for you to say, I'm sorry, I don't understand that question, and have them repeat it. If you still don't understand that question, it's okay to say, I'm sorry, I still don't understand. Can you ask it a different way? You don't want to do that on every question, and I'm not suggesting that you would. But you want to be sure that you have a full understanding of what the question is being asked of you. And if you don't need to answer it. So be concise in your answers once you fully understand the question. Answer it as simply and concisely as possible, and you will give yourself you'll do a good job in your deposition. You also won't cause your attorney to have a heart attack because you've answered something they didn't ask. The other thing that comes up frequently when we do depositions, whenever we start taking depositions, or at least I do, I'm sure most attorneys do, they go over a list of questions. Has anybody helped you prepare for your deposition today? It's okay. That's not a trick question. If if Joe Blow helped you prepare, then you need to say, yeah, my Uncle Joe helped me prepare for this deposition. We talked about all the things that have gone on just to refresh my memory. If you went to your attorney's office last week to sit down and go through the file and go through all the things, the discovery and the pleadings and all the things that have come together to get you to this deposition, it's okay for you to say that. It's appropriate for you to say that because that's the truth. And there's nothing wrong with it. Now, some attorneys will try to make you feel like you did something wrong. Or they'll try to make you feel like your attorney did something wrong because they prepared you for these depositions. That's not the case. It's absolutely not the case. You need to know your facts, and if your facts are a custody case, know your facts. If your facts are a personal injury claim, know your facts. If you're talking about money in any of those claims, know the money in those claims. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and review some of my other videos where I talk about temporary hearings, support hearings. Those are good videos for information about what you need to know when you're given a testimony, okay? So those items become very relevant when you're going through any type of testimony. So the purpose of a deposition, just so you know, is so we can catch you in a lie. That's what we want. That's the reason we take the deposition. So if I'm taking another party's deposition, I'm doing it because I want to know what they're going to tell me when they get on the stand. Now, if they're going to tell me the truth, okay, fine, that's boring. But if they're going to tell me a lie, I want them to lie to me. So that then, sometime between the day we take the deposition and the day we try the case, I can bust out all those lies and use it as rebuttal testimony to impeach him. I want to show, but on January the 21st of 2020, did you testify to X, Y, and Z? And when he says yes or no, or she says yes or no, then I want to say, but on January of 2019, this is a photograph of you doing X, Y, and Z. Is that true? Your attorney will work through that process, but what you need to know as you're sitting there going through the deposition is that's the purpose of the deposition. As attorneys and litigators, we're hoping the person in the hot seat will tell us a story. We're hoping that we will learn more information about what their testimony is going to be when they get to trial. Because if we learn it all at deposition and say nobody tells us the story, well, then we figure we need to settle this case. If there are some things that we can poke holes in and we can figure out a way to get around or a way to explain to the court that they've told us some untruths, that's good for you. That's good for your case. And that's what the hope is. So be honest. Remember, you're trying to lay the credibility and you're trying to lay the groundwork for you being the one that's telling the truth because it's your lawsuit to win or lose. So, good luck. I hope I've answered your questions.